Welcome everyone to Custom Connectors Unleashed. I'm Stephen Pride, a solution architect on the customer and partner success team. I'm here with my colleague Goksel Oral, also a solution architect on the customer and partner success team. We are excited to talk to you about how custom connectors can power up your Microsoft Sustainability Manager. Today, we will start by discussing the benefits of using custom connectors, the custom connector framework, the implementation approach, 2 different types of custom connectors, and finally, we will wrap with best practices and resources. All right, let's get started. Over to you, Goksel.
Hello everyone, this is Goksel. It's exciting to be here with you and presenting with Steven today. Custom connectors bring several benefits to independent software vendors, ISVs, using sustainability managers. First, they expand data import capabilities, allowing access to sources and authentication options beyond what Power Queries supports today. With over 1,000 Power Automate connectors, you gain extensive data access and transformation options. They also enable reusable Power Query templates, saving time and ensuring data consistency across clients. Unlike manual data imports, custom connectors support calculation after import. Lastly, you can publish your connector in AppSource, enhancing visibility and letting others benefit from your solution. Let's explore the custom connector framework. Microsoft Sustainability Manager data import engine supports 4 data import methods: Excel template, Power Query, Power Query template, and lastly, the data provider connectors. Data provider connectors are composed of first-party Microsoft developed connectors such as Emissions Impact Dashboard for Azure, while ISVs can develop, package, and distribute their connectors to import external data into Sustainability Manager. The custom connector framework provides 2 methods: Power Query template and Power Automate. In this session, we will demonstrate and provide implementation guidance for these 2 methods. Let's explore each of these methods. Power Query template method requires you to create a Power Query template to define your data sources, target data definitions, and the transformation and mapping logic in between. Once you have the template working, you can add the connector definition to make it ready to distribute as a custom connector. The Power Automate method requires you to develop a Power Automate workflow that gets triggered when your data import job is scheduled. Unlike Power Query template, the data sources, target definitions, the transformation and mapping logic in between are implemented within a Power Automate. Looking at these 2 methods, Power Query template is the preferred approach when you can develop the connector with the Power Query experience. Power Automate method can be considered when either the Power Query is not an option because of supported data sources or authentication methods, or you may need some additional steps to be done during the data import. That's where you may consider using a Power Automate method. Before going through details of these 2 methods, let's look first at the implementation journey of developing custom connectors. Firstly, you will need to plan and prepare for the implementation. You will need to plan a go-to-market strategy with a potential customer for validation. Next step is design. You will need to create an integration and data mapping, such as how your source data fields and values will be mapped to fields and values in Sustainability Manager. As we finish the design, the time comes to development. This is where you will alter the connector and the transformation logic. After finishing the development, it's time for test. It's important to handle errors and exceptions properly so that support teams can quickly identify the potential issues from the error trace. Last step is where you publish your connector by creating an offer in AppSource Marketplace and publish the connector solution. Okay, let's look at how we can create a custom connector using Power Query template method. You need to create a custom solution that will need to include a connector and a data flow template. The connector is an XML file that includes some basic information about the connector, such as the title, the description, the logo, and so on. And the logo will be represented as a text, which will be created from the file and encoded by base64. And lastly, your the data flow, data template, the Power Query template, reference ID also is included in this XML. The flow template, data flow template, XML, will require some certain information directly copied from your Power Query template, such as your data mapping, transformation logic, and your parameters. In addition to solution-aware components, you can also prepare the reference data and the data mapping records to be imported with your custom connector package. Let's look some samples of those two XML files that I mentioned. You will need to get your unmanaged solution exported and unzipped to a folder in your local. You will then create a new assets folder and put those two XML files under that folder. Then you will reversion your solution file, compress it again, and import it back to your development environment. Developing a customer connector using Power Query template is a two-step process. Firstly, you will need to create a Power Query template. Then in the second step, you will need to alter those two XML files to create the custom connector. Before demonstrating each of these steps, make sure you have a development environment with Sustainability Manager installed. You need to create an unmanaged solution with a publisher. And also you need to identify a unique identifier defined for your connector, a GUID basically. And also make sure you have your logo file within the 36 to 36 pixels. And then you need to take this file and encode it with a base64 string. So you need that base64 string in the later steps. Detailed steps of this process and sample files can be accessed from the link highlighted here. Hello, in this demo, I will walk you through the two-step process of creating a custom connector. The first step is to create a Power Query template. In this exercise, I will connect to a blob storage where I will have three CSV files that has a reference data as well as a purchase energy. And I will create a Power Query template using these. And the next step will be to use this template to create a custom connector. So let's start with the Power Query template. So I'm in Sustainability Manager and I go to Data Imports and switch to the Power Query templates. I currently don't have any template, so let's create one. So I will choose Purchase Electricity and I have two reference data, which is facilities and meters. So I will select Next. Okay, then I will connect to my blob storage. So I will type the URL or the name of the account, storage account name. Then you can add your account key to connect to that storage. And this lists down my containers in that storage. So my files are under the structure. So you see those three files, CSV files, like purchase energy activity data, and then to reference data that I want to update. So let's start with the purchase energy. Okay. Energy. So I can see the headers are set, so I'm good to go for this one. So let's add the other two reference tables. So again, I go and define the storage account. I select the structure and then I choose the facility. Okay, this doesn't have the first row as header, so I will add the transformation. And then I will rename this to facility. And the last one is the meter one. So again, I do new query, then choose the blob as my source, adding account name. Then I will choose my container, and then I will choose the meter. Okay, so I will use first row as header for this one as well, and then rename this to meter. And then I say create. So this is validating all the schema. Then now I'm in the last step to map this source data to the target tables. If they have the same column name, then it will you can auto map and map it directly. So So I will do the same for facilities and meters. So I choose the data source and then automap and save. So lastly, I'm doing the same for meters and save. Okay, so the mapping is done. I will click next and give this template as Contoso PQ template. And I can see the template as shown in my Power Query templates. Hello. So in the previous demo, I show you how to create the Power Query template. Now let's create the custom connector using that. So the first step of creating a custom connector is to create a blank solution. So to do that, we will go to our Maker portal, make.powerapps.com, choose our environment, and then we will click the solutions. So I will go and create a new solution. I will give this control so custom connectors. So you can create a new publisher or choose the default one and then select create. So, so currently we will not add anything to this solution. We will add those through an XML. So we will just export this solution, select it and then select export. We will select next. And then we will choose this as image because we want to make edits to it. So I will select export. So this will create the package for download. Okay, the package is ready. I will download it to my local. Now I downloaded the custom connector zip file. I can go ahead and extract all of them. So this is the extracted folder. So I will go ahead and create a new folder named assets. So I will put two XML files under this assets folder. So let me walk you through those two XML files. So one of them is this data connectors XML. The other one is this data flow templates XML. The data connectors XML is for defining the connector, while the data flow template is the Power Query template information being filled out here. And we will put these two XMLs under that assets folder. Okay, let's look at each of them. First of all, the data connectors XML. So this has this template information that you can see in the product documentation. You need to fill out starting with an ID that you need to set for the connector. This needs to be unique. Then this is you can keep it as is with status being published and the connector type is the partner connector using Power Query template. And then give it a description, your support link, and then it asks for your logo text, which you can get your logo file as a 36 to 36 pixel. And then you can use some tools or a code to make the base 64 string like this one. So I will copy that and put it here. Then I will put a name, a title, and last I need a data flow template ID. So this ID you can either retrieve it uh, from the MSM, going to the Power Query templates and clicking this record. In the URL, you will see an ID here. So you can copy paste this information, or you can go to the Maker portal, tables, and data flow template, and then this ID is the same. So you can either copy this one or this URL, then put this into the XML. So I save this XML. Now let's go to the other XML, which has the Power Query template information. So you put the template ID from here to this uh, location as well. And then it asks for a unique name and other information like configuration and mashup document. These are things that are already defined, so you just need to copy paste those from the tool to this XML. So how can you can do it is either going uh, to this URL that has your environment URL and then this API data version 9 and the data flow templates entity. If you hit enter for this URL, you will get a JSON like this one. So basically, we will copy paste from here the information. So let's start with the unique name. So I can see it here. I will copy that one and then put it in my XML. I will again go back and copy from the configuration. This JSON information I will copy and then paste it to my XML. And then there is mashup document. Okay, so these are all filled out. We can remain the default values as is, and you can put the description here. And so that's these two XMLs are done. Now what we will do is to put these two XML files, so you can copy them and then open the solution folder under the assets. You put it here. The last thing we will do before we take this package and re-import it is to change the solution version. So we will open the solution XML and then change the version to and increment it to 1002. So we save this one as well. Now we are ready to go. So we will just take all this and then compress it back to a zip file. So something to note out, you need to zip within this folder, not from the above folder, because we need directly these files under the zip. So make sure that you compress them by selecting these. Okay, so I have the file. Now I will move back to Power Apps, to my environment where I will re-import it back so that I get this solution updated. So I will click the import solution. I will say browse and then we'll choose the zip file that I created. I will select next. So it says that there's an updated version so that it will update the existing solution. Okay, the solution is imported successfully. So I now see the version as updated. So let's look at quickly what is inside the solution. It basically has two elements. So one of them is our connector information and then the data flow template. Okay, so now we are almost done. So what we will do, we will go and check our connector. So we will go to Sustainability Manager again, go to Imports and click New. And our connector will be displayed under this data provider connectors. So you can see this connector here. Before finalizing the Power Query template method, let's look at some best practices. It's important to set the origin correlation ID field at each Sustainability Manager table you load, with a unique identifier that's traceable back to your systems. This field ensures both traceability as well as lets your data import evaluated as an update and avoids data duplications. You can add reference data in your Power Query template, such as the meter or a facility data, so that they are defined first in the system before the dependent activity data is imported. Identify the right parameter to pass to connector to load incremental data, such as a watermark date or a last successful load date. If the initial data load will be a large one, you can consider partitioning it either by a date or an activity type so that you have more controlled initial load. It's important to keep in mind customers may already create calculation profiles that are enabled to trigger when activity data is updated. They can also enable approval for emissions, which will be put into pending state when the calculation is executed. Keep those in mind while you design your import process. And lastly, make sure you edit either of the XML files, increment the solution version so that when you import it back to your development environment as an updated solution, it will take those changes. Otherwise, it will not pick those changes.
In this section, we will explore how to create a Power Automate based custom connector. Power Automate custom connectors require the same data connector.xml file as Power Query template connectors, but additional custom parameters can be created in the file for later use within your Power Automate flow. The Power Automate flow will follow a standard pattern. Get the connector details, initialize your data connection map, and connection refresh. Pull data from your data source, map the source data to the MSM data model, convert the map data to CSV, store the CSV in the connection refresh record, and finally trigger the ingestion plugin. It is recommended that you also include exception handling in the event of any errors that may occur. In addition to solution-aware components, you can also include reference data and data mapping records to be imported with the custom connector package. Next, let's dive into the connector parameters in the data connection.xml file. Understanding how to author these parameters is crucial for defining the connections and ensuring smooth data ingestion. The data connection.xml file serves as the blueprint for your custom connector, outlining the necessary parameters and configurations required to establish a connection between your data source and Microsoft Sustainability Manager. The connector parameters support data types such as date time, text, note, and link, in addition to the ability to mark a parameter as required or masked. Date, time, and text are treated as input fields, where note and link are treated as read-only data. By carefully defining these parameters, you can ensure that your custom connector operates efficiently and effectively, providing reliable data integration and automation capabilities. Here, we outline the core entities for data ingestion. These include the connector, connection, data import job, and connection refresh. Each of these entities plays a vital role in managing and tracking the data flow from source systems to Sustainability Manager. The connector serves as the interface between your data source and Sustainability Manager, facilitating data transfer and integration. The connection defines the specific parameters and configurations required to establish a link between the data source and Sustainability Manager. Data import jobs manage and trigger the actual data transfer process, enabling your flow to start the extraction, transformation, and load of data into Sustainability Manager. Connection Refresh provides a detailed record of each data ingestion operation, allowing you to monitor and troubleshoot any issues that may arise during the process. Next, let's go over the detailed steps for creating custom connectors using Power Automate. We will also provide a sample repository for reference. The prerequisites include setting up a development Dataverse environment with Sustainability Manager deployed, creating an unmanaged solution with a publisher, creating the dataconnector.xml file as a guide for the connector, and base64 encoding a logo. By following these steps, you'll be prepared to create custom connectors that integrate seamlessly with Microsoft Sustainability Manager, enabling you to automate data ingestion processes and improve data management capabilities. We will walk through the process of defining the connector and setting up a Power Automate flow that can be used for ingesting data into Sustainability Manager. Additionally, we will discuss the best practices for developing and deploying custom connectors, ensuring that your implementation is robust, scalable, and efficient. Let's go through a demo of how to design the dataconnector.xml file. In the Maker Portal Solutions page, select New Solution and specify the name for your connector solution, select or create a publisher for the solution, and click Create. Return to the Solutions page to export the solution as an unmanaged solution. Extract the solution zip to your local drive and create a new folder called Assets. Our documentation page includes a sample connector and the necessary file name. You can use this information to start your dataconnector.xml file. You will need to update the data connector ID to a unique GUID. Specify the name and title of your connector. You can leave the connector status and connector type with the default values. The values correlate to a custom connector. Enter a description, the support link where users can reach out for support, and put your base64 encoded logo into the logo text tag. You can copy the sample data from the documentation page to start your parameter configuration. Parameters are grouped together. The first section in the sample data is login. In the fields array, you will find two text input fields for username and password, both with the required attribute set to true to ensure that users enter data into these fields. The password field has an attribute called mask, which will mask the text in the field. The second group is the data extraction parameters. This includes a date-time field where a watermark or starting date field is stored, as well as organizational unit and facility text fields that can be used in the Power Automate flow. Additionally, you will see two fields with the type of note and link. These are treated as read-only and will display data to the user as text and a clickable link. After saving, we will return to the base solution folder and edit the solution.xml file to increase the version number of the solution. Highlight all fields in the base solution folder. Right-click and select Compress to Zip. We can then return to the Solutions page in the Maker portal and upload our newly created connector solution. Be sure to check that your version number is increasing. After our solution has finished importing, we can open the solution and see our new connector. Additionally, we can check the Data Provider Connectors area of the Sustainability Manager Data Imports page to validate that our connector appears and how our data connection parameters will be rendered. Continuing with our demos, let's discuss how to set up the Power Automate flow that will be triggered by your connector. Here we are navigating to our public custom connector GitHub repository, where you can download a sample Power Automate flow to jumpstart your development. Importing this solution is similar to our previous demo, but you will be prompted to establish connections to Dataverse and for an environment variable. You can leave the environment variable value blank for now. Opening the newly imported sample solution, we are presented with a sample flow, a data connection map, and a sample connector, as well as the connection references and environment variable used in the sample flow. Let's open the Power Automate flow and click Edit. The Power Automate flow begins with the trigger, when a row is added on the Data Import Jobs table. The trigger is filtered specifically to a connector ID. This needs to be updated to the connector ID specified in our dataconnector.xml file. Next, we initialize some variables for use later in the flow. We have scoped certain areas of the flow to better group actions, as well as capture and record any errors that occur. In the initialize connector scope, we start by retrieving the connection record and the associated connection parameters. We then retrieve an existing data connection map if one exists, and check if a record was returned. In the event no record is returned, we create a new data connection map for this connection, specifying the connection record, the sustainability data definition for the type of data we are ingesting, purchased energy in this example, a name, and any text in the map field. We store the newly created map ID in the data connection map variable. If the map already existed, the retrieved map ID would simply be stored in the variable and no additional record would be created. Next, we create a new connection refresh record to store the status of our data ingestion. Let's move into the Try-Scope section. In this section, you would create a connection to your source system to retrieve data. In our example, we're retrieving just the first row from a sample table included in our example solution. Once you have retrieved your data, you will need to compose a new JSON object with property names matching the schema names in the sustainability data model, and the values coming from your retrieved data. Finally, we append the new JSON object to our activities array variable. The catch scope will only occur when the previous try scope has failed, is skipped, or has timed out. Within the catch scope, we capture the error messages from the try scope and update our connection refresh, data connection, and data import job records, storing the error details in the connection refresh and setting the status on all records to error. The finally scope only runs if the catch scope is skipped, which means no errors occurred in the try scope. We convert our activity variables to a CSV table and confirm that there are records in the new CSV table. We then upload the CSV table to the connection refresh and trigger the third-party ingestion plugin, passing in the data import job ID. Be sure to save your changes before exiting the flow editor. Let's return to Microsoft Sustainability Manager and test our new Power Automate-based custom connector. We will create a new connection. For this example, we are entering sample data into the parameters. We will trigger the import on the connector and return back to our Power Automate flow to validate it was triggered. Here, you can see the flow was triggered and the data was generated into a CSV, as well as the ingestion service being triggered. Here are some best practices for developing custom connectors using Power Automate. These include setting origin correlation IDs, enhancing error handling, and considering incremental refresh options. In summary, whenever possible, consider using the Power Query or PQ template for your custom connectors. PQ templates are easier to create and package as a flow. By setting the origin correlation IDs, you can avoid duplicate records and support upsert operations. Designing for bulk and incremental refreshes ensures that your data is always up to date and ready for analysis. Thank you for joining us while we discuss the benefits and implementation of custom connectors in Microsoft Sustainability Manager. Custom connectors provide a powerful and flexible solution for integrating data from various sources, automating data workflows, and enhancing data management capabilities. We encourage you to explore the provided resources, including documentation, GitHub repositories, and the sustainability community. Your feedback is valuable to us, so please share your thoughts on the summit and the content presented. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing the innovative solutions you create using the connector framework.